It's just incredibly busy, as I think we all anticipated it would be. One member I spoke to, they'd had more inquiries in the last 2 weeks than the whole of last year. So it sounds fantastic, and of course it is fantastic, but then of course there were large parts of last year where that business was closed. So obviously last year isn't comparing it with a normal year, in inverted commas, but nonetheless, I think it just shows how busy it's coming a little bit to fruition is just the struggle some independents are having to meet that demand of inquiries, because obviously they've gone through a period of lockdown. Some retailers may have unfortunately have to let staff go. They've now obviously having a situation where they're inundated with inquiries, and as I think anybody in sort of kitchen and bathroom sales would agree, they've kind of got that golden period of maybe 7 days, ideally less, but 7 days in which to get back to the client with the design. They're struggling to obviously meet that golden time period. So we're sort of helping them by offering them opportunities to work with third-party designers. It's one of our members, actually. They have their own business, but they're a very, very good designer. And they have said to us if there are times when they have extra capacity so they can do the design work. But the other one's quite interesting, which is a high-end retailer in London we work with. And he, for about the last 18 months, has worked with a team of designers based in India. In terms of getting a real idea of whether we're seeing an average price increase, it's a bit early to say that yet. I think where a lot of the inquiries are at the moment is kind of design stage. And what we're going to get to is obviously then the ordering process. So then we're going to have challenges around supply, and then we're going to have the installation process, and then we're going to have challenges around installation. Obviously, the big increase in business that the industry is going to see over the next 4, 5, 6, 12 months and beyond is going to put real strain on the installation side. That said, though, a lot of the members we work with have been in the industry for many, many years and have very, very close relationships with their installation teams. What it might just mean is that the client might just have to wait a little bit longer for the availability of the fitters, simply because of the sheer workload going through that retailer. Then the chances are that same client may well have to wait a bit longer for their products to be available because of the potential of shortages of supply. A positive problem, isn't it? It's a problem caused this time by the sheer amount of sales going through the order process. It's the burning issue that I'm talking to all our members about. It's simply about supply, what our thoughts are about the current situation, but perhaps more pertinent, how do we see things developing over the next sort of few months, and what other avenues might the retailer have in which to try and improve that situation, to have a bit of a fear that the situation is probably going to get worse before it gets better. And that's simply because of this big spike in business that we're going to be seeing over the next few months. I think the difference this time around compared to perhaps the situation last year is I get the sense the retailers are a lot more prepared for it. 3 things I think they're fundamentally doing to try and help the situation. One is I think they're obviously having that conversation with the client at the very beginning of the process. And the second thing the retailers are doing is to place the orders for the appliances as soon as they possibly can. And the third thing is perhaps just building in a bit more flexibility and explaining to their client that if you particularly want these brands and these specific models, then that's fine and we can get them for you, but you may have to wait a protracted time period. But there are other brand options we could potentially look at. I think all that considered, hopefully the impact on the industry won't be quite as pronounced as perhaps it was last year. But I think that really remains to be seen. It'll be some time, I think, until we see getting back to the free stock that I think the retailers are used to seeing, over the last few years. One of the kind of interesting kind of paradoxes in some way that we've been through such a challenging time, and yet throughout that period, it's interesting how many new showrooms there have been opening, new businesses, brand new businesses. It's absolutely fantastic, heartwarming, to be truthful.